In this video, I'm going to show you how you can add extra excitement to your rock tracks using synths. Now, there are quite a few bands that do this really well and really effectively. Historically, Panic at the Disco and Fall Out Boy have always made really good use of synths, and also All Time Low as well. And it can be a really effective way at engaging your listener and also making your rock songs sound more modern. So let's jump in and I'll show you some examples. Also, at the end of the video, I've got a free download available that, if you are a songwriter, will absolutely help you. So stick around to the end and I'll tell you all about it. So this song I'm about to show you is a pop rock band from the UK. I was involved in writing it, producing it and mixing it. And the chorus of this song is quite unique. In most pop rock songs, the chorus is where everything lifts up. The guitars go crazy, the drums go crazy, everything's really, really big. However, in this song, in the first chorus, we've actually made it break down. So the guitars pull way back, the drums are absolutely huge but very, very simple, and the synths are key here to create an atmosphere and then also bring it back to where it needs to be for that big final section of the chorus. So let me show you what's going on.
Made me think that it was gonna be fine, so I gave it all I got to make it mine. Oh yeah, but you played me like a game. You changed up all the rules to make me the fool, and God knows I had a close escape. It was easy to see what you meant to me.
So, as you can hear, the verse is very typical for a pop rock song, but then when you're expecting the chorus to go big, the guitars to kind of go big, the drums to really get going, it doesn't. It breaks down. Those elements kind of pull back, but it still sounds really, really big. That's partially thanks to the drums, but the synths are also playing a key role. Now, as you can see, there's not a huge amount of them. We've only got 3 synth tracks and then 1 FX track. So let's take a closer look at what those are doing. Now, when it comes to synths, I'm a huge fan of Omnisphere. It's an incredible synth, and it's probably the only synth that you will ever need. However, it is pricey. So if that's out of your price range or you just can't get hold of it right now, then another great option is Anna 2, and that is part of the Slate Digital All Access Pass. It's like $10 a month and you get access to it for as long as you keep that subscription going. These synths are mostly Omnisphere, but there might have been 1 or 2 that are from Anna 2 in the Slate All Access Pass as well. So this is the first synth. Let's take a listen to what this is doing when the chorus breaks down. So the first reason that I chose this synth is because it's just kind of like an airy drone. I really like the air that it's adding. It's kind of exciting and it creates some atmosphere in those high frequencies. It's also, although it's a drone, it's kind of pulsating. It's kind of going in and then pulling out and pulling in and pulling out. And that just adds some quite nice movement to the track. Now the next one, this is a lot more fizzy and harsh. Take a listen. So, as you can hear, that's completely different, but it complements the first one really well. On its own, it doesn't sound that great. I am alternating the notes. That's just in tune with what the song's doing. But it's very sort of attacky. It's very sharp and acidic and high frequency. And that's just going to add some more excitement, some more fizz and some more buzz. It's probably not going to be very high in the mix, but it does add an interesting texture. Let's move on to the next one. Now for the next synth, we've got lots of kind of sharp, almost harsh, high frequency sounds here. So we need to smooth it out. So for this one, this is a patch from Omnisphere. It's one of my favourite synths. I think it's called the Vox Pad, and I use it literally all of the time. It's so great at just adding nice mellow ambience. It sounds great in like pop country music, just where you want like some extra sort of texture in the verses. It's really nice. Let's take a listen. So that's going to really help kind of smooth out the overall synth sound, because the other two are quite harsh and attacky. So we're going to get a nice blend of those. Let's take a listen to all those 3 now put together. One thing I really like about that second synth that I showed you as well, the really harsh one, is that it's got a pan thing going on. You can hear it's going from left to right, and that just makes the track sound wide, and it kind of draws you in as a listener. Now, the final thing that we need here, when everything comes back in, when the drums go back to normal, when we bring the guitars back in, I want it to build up. So the final addition here is this FX track, which is basically a riser. Let's take a listen. So that's just making the whole thing rise up and build tension, really, for when the whole track comes back in. Let's put all of that together. Let's take another listen to what we've got. I'm going to take the vocals out for now, just so you can hear what's going on a little bit better with the instrumentation. Now let's put the vocals in, let's get the full effect.
Oh yeah, but you played me like a game. You changed up all the rules to make me the fool, and God knows I had a close escape. It was easy to see what you meant to me.
So you can hear how all three of those synth tracks are working together to create an overall sound. I really like the riser because that adds so much tension and really builds you back into when the song comes back in and kicks off again. But the three synths really work together well. You've got the airiness from that first one, you've got the kind of harshness and the panning effect from the second one, and then you've got the mellow softness from that airy pad, and then the riser just brings it all back together. Now, I've also got one more quick example that I can show you. Again, using synths to add excitement to another rock track. It's by the same band from the UK, so it's pop rock music. This time we're using synths in the breakdown. So it's a very typical pop rock song throughout the verses and the chorus. We've then got a breakdown, and the synths kind of play a really key role in bringing the song back out of that breakdown. So let me play a section for you. So this is coming out of the final chorus, into the breakdown, and then into the solo, which is what comes afterwards.
Hold the key and I've been trying to get out, but this might be the death of me, but I'm breaking out.
The synths add some really nice ambience in that breakdown, and it is just coming from two tracks. It's these two right here. We've got a bright pad, and then we've got the good old Vox pad again. It's the Omnisphere patch that I use so much. So let's take a look at the first one. I believe this one was actually from Anna 2, part of the Slate Digital All Access Pass. Let's take a listen on its own. So it's just playing a really, really simple motif. But notice the second time it goes round, it moves up an octave. That was really important because it added some extra excitement and it built up to the next section, which was the solo. I really like the sound of that because it's got a lot of air to it. That kind of airy, fizzy sort of bright pad goes really, really well with guitars. Guitars are very much focused around the mid-range. So having that kind of airiness to the pad just complements it really, really well. Now, it is quite spiky and quite fizzy, so to mellow it out a touch, then we've got the Vox pad. This is really, really warm in the lower mid-range. So put those both together, and this is what we get. they complement each other really well, but as I was saying, they also go really well with the guitars. This is what the guitars are doing, and there's also another guitar track that's really important here that I want to show you. Let's take a listen. Now, one of the guitar tracks that I've put in with this is a guitar just playing some really simple harmonics. It kind of adds a really nice ambient sort of sound, and it's also running through a delay as well that's adding some kind of repeated notes as well. Let's take a listen to that. And then the final thing is a lead guitar part that's going to lead into the solo. Now, this is a heavily distorted guitar. I think it's a Les Paul through a Marshall JCM 800. However, it's going through a really bright room reverb. Let's take a listen. So on its own, you might be thinking that is way too bright and it doesn't sound that great, but no one's ever going to hear these tracks in solo. It's how it sounds in the overall mix. Let's put all of that stuff together and see how it sounds. I'm going to mute the vocals just so that you can concentrate on the instrumentation. So that's another example of how you can use synths in your rock tracks to add excitement. And I hope it's something that you found useful and has inspired you to experiment. Now, if you are a songwriter, this is just part of a much bigger overall process that we have to go through when we're writing and figuring out the arrangement of a song. Songwriting absolutely is an art. However, there has to be a process that we go through every single time to make sure that we don't miss the mark. People are used to hearing certain things, and if we want our music to impact our listeners, then we need to make sure that it has all of those elements arranged in the right way so that it has the impact we want. So despite it being an art, there is still structure. Now, I've created a Songwriters Checklist, and that structure is on that checklist. It's the exact same document that I go through with every single one of my clients before we even start recording. We make sure that the song absolutely has the impact that we want. We make sure that it's got all of the right elements and that the arrangement is absolutely on point. You can get this checklist completely free. The link is in the description below, and if you follow it, you will start writing and arranging better songs. Enjoy.